this first video today, we're going to look at just how ugly completing a square can look when A is not 1 or B isn't even. Because if you remember yesterday, I mentioned that you want to use completing the square when A is 1 and B is even. Otherwise, I would definitely lean towards another method for solving this quadratic equation. Now, this first one, if we check the factor first, we're going to look for factors of -8, which would be 1 and 8 and 2 and 4, that add up to -1. Well, either of these pairs can be manipulated to add up to -1. So this one is not factorable. So we're going to solve it by the other method we know, by completing the square. And we're going to parallel the completing the square to this one with this one. Okay? And what we're doing when we do this is we are discovering what's called the quadratic formula, which some of you may have seen before. So, to solve this, now all the ones yesterday, we had 1 as our A value. Well, what you need to do in completing the square is to force that to be 1. And the way we force this to be 1 is to divide the entire equation by 2, and that means each term by 2. So, when we do that, 2x squared divided by 2 is just x squared minus 1/2 x minus 2, and that is equal to 0. So we are going to do the same thing over here, except A is just A. So if we divide everything by A, we have x squared plus b over ax plus c over a is equal to 0. Now, the next step in completing the square is to get the constant to the other side. That's what we did yesterday, so we're going to do the same thing today. We're going to clear the constant, and we move this 2 over here by adding 2 to both sides. Okay? So over here, the constant is the c over a. So we're going to move that to the other side by subtracting c over a. So we're going to end up with x squared plus b over a equals negative c over a. All right. Next step is we're going to complete the square. So to complete the square, we take this b value, we take half of it, half of 1/2 is 1/4, and then we square that. 1/4 squared is 1/16. To square 1/4, so to show you what's happening, we're taking 1/2 times 1/2 to get 1/4, and then we're squaring that. Okay? And then we need to add 1/16 to both sides. Okay? So this side we're going to do the same thing. I better put an x with that b over a. Okay? So we're going to take this b over a and half of that. So we're going to multiply it by, so we're going to get b over 2a. And then we're going to square that. And you square top and bottom individually, so we have b squared over 4a squared. And we're going to add that to both sides. B squared over 4a squared. Now, back over here, we are going to factor this part, because that is now a perfect square trinomial. So we've got the first term, middle sign, square root of the third term, which is 1/4. And on the right side, we're going to combine those two. 2 is 32/16, so 32/16 plus 1/16 is 33/16. So we are going to do the same thing over here. Rewriting this in factored form, it becomes x plus b over 2a. And now to combine this, we need a common denominator of 4a squared. So we need to multiply the top by 4ac. So, and just rearranging, so the positive comes first. We're going to have b squared minus 4ac all over 4a squared. And then the next step over here, to undo this square, we are going to take the square root of both sides, keeping in mind every single positive number has 2 square roots. The positive and the negative. And taking the square root of a fraction is done basically the same as squaring a fraction. Take the square root of the top individually. Well, that doesn't come out even, and it can be simplified. And we take the square root of the denominator individually, which is 4. So we're going to do the same thing over here. X plus b over 2a is equal to, and again, we are taking the square root of both sides. We cannot simplify the top. You cannot, since the subtraction is there, you cannot take the square root of this individually. That doesn't work. So you need to leave it all under the square root. Square root of the denominator, the square root of 4a squared is 2a. And now we're going to solve for x by adding 1/4 to both sides. So x is equal to 1/4 plus or minus the square root of 33 over 4. We don't write it, and here's why we don't write it as one fraction, as you may be used to. Number one, it's easier to simplify here. The other thing is that this right here is our axis of symmetry. X equals 1/4 is our axis of symmetry. And you'll see that as we simplify or solve that one on the right for x. So, getting x by itself, we subtract b over 2a. And this piece right here of this quadratic formula is the axis of symmetry. Hopefully that opposite of b over 2a looks familiar to you. Plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. And here is your quadratic formula. Whenever you have a quadratic equation in standard form, set equal to 0, you can use this formula to find the values of x. Keep in mind, this one has 2 solutions. One of them is 1/4 plus the square root of 33 over 4. The other one is 1/4 minus the square root of 33 over 4. And so in the next video, we're going to apply this quadratic formula. Make sure you write this down on the worksheet. We're going to apply that quadratic formula to actual quadratic equations.